the GMAT's Analytical Writing Assessment section, or the AWA, or some people call it the GMAT Essay. Okay, whatever you want to call it, some people find it very hard. It doesn't have to be so hard. So if you keep on watching this video, you will learn everything about the AWA section of the GMAT and how to ace it, how to get a really high score with theory, live examples, reasoning types, question types, and free templates also. So just keep on watching this video. Before starting this lesson though, I'm going to gently ask you to subscribe to our channel and don't forget to click on the notification bell so you are up to date with all our free courses and free lessons. If you like the video as well, you can leave us a comment and of course give us a thumbs up. Okay, don't forget about it. So first, let's see the structure of the GMAT essay. So here you have the main characteristics of the AWA. You have a total time of 30 minutes, so you have 30 minutes in total to write the essay. That includes also the time you have for reading the argument. Okay, the score goes from 0 to 6. Okay, 0 being the lowest score, meaning that you wrote a horrible essay, and 6 being the best score possible. And this score increases in half-point intervals. The recommended word count is 400 words or more. That's not the official recommended word count. Actually, the GMAT doesn't really recommend any word count, any limit. But here at Liberty, we recommend that you write at least 400 words, okay? Because the longer your essay is, the better your score. So if you can write 500-600 words, well, that's much better. So what is the AWA section about? Basically, you're gonna get an argument, okay? An argument written by an author. Somebody's gonna write an argument with evidence, premises, supporting evidence, and also conclusion. The conclusion will be an opinion. Basically, they will be trying to sell you an idea. Think about critical reasoning. So basically, if you are already preparing for the GMAT, you should know what critical reasoning is about. So this is the same thing you're going to get, a critical reasoning argument. Now, the most important thing is, what are you going to do with that argument? You already know you're receiving an argument. So what are you going to do with it? Well, that's simple. You need to destroy it. Okay, you think I'm kidding, right? No, I'm not. You need to obliterate that argument. You need to pick it apart piece by piece. Okay, don't get personal with the author. But definitely you need to destroy that argument and attack it from all sides. That's your job. You have to write an essay showing that that argument is poorly written. It has to be thoroughly, really assessed, that the evidence is lacking, is missing, is poor also. So basically you need to destroy the argument. That's what you need to do at all times. So the mindset here is really important. Right from the get-go, you should think that this author, imagine that this author, just make believe, right? This author is your enemy, is your opponent, somebody you hate, right? Imagine, picture somebody you don't like, and he's written something in the newspaper. And what better opportunity right now that you have in order to just destroy him piece by piece. Basically, you're going to show that that author doesn't really have a clue of what he or she is talking about. And that's what you're going to do. Okay, I know that sounds mean, but that's the right attitude for you to start identifying all the flaws the author has and make the best possible attack. So the argument will look something like this. Okay, as I told you before, it's very similar to any other critical reasoning argument. Okay, so this is the argument you're getting, something like that. Now the question, what about the question? The question doesn't really matter. Okay, the question never varies. The question is the same all the time. So you already know your job, what you're being asked to do. You have to destroy the argument, you have to attack it, you have to show that it's not convincing, it's not sound, it doesn't make sense. Okay, that's what you're always going to have to do. Okay, so the question doesn't really matter. Read it right now, that's a question here, but it doesn't truly matter too much. Okay, so now that you know what the argument is about, so now that you know what type of question you are getting, now we have to go to the next step, how you are going to attack it. So how in the world am I going to attack this argument? So, and something we've talked about before comes in handy. We've mentioned before that this argument is very similar to critical reasoning argument. So the first thing that will make up our whole toolbox in order to attack this argument will be our critical reasoning theory. So you need to use your critical reasoning theory. That's the way you are going to identify the flaws and also show that the author is not doing things according to common reasoning, common logic. In case you don't know your critical reasoning theory, or for any reason you don't remember it, here we're going to refresh your mind really quickly. So the first theory is the cause-effect relationship, right? Of course, if the author assumes that there are causes, but those causes haven't been established, that's a flaw. Another flaw would be a generalization if the author assumes that a sample is representative. The third element is comparison. So in order to make a comparison, the author should provide evidence that two things that he or she is comparing are comparable. Basically, they start on the same conditions. Another theory is wrong way, when the author assumes that the cause-effect relationship works both ways. And the fifth theory is percentage of numbers, and this is very common on the GMAT. So basically, the author assumes that because there's a change in percentages, there's also a change in numbers. So now that we've refreshed your mind with the critical reasoning theory, now you already have half of the toolbox we're going to use to attack this argument. Okay? The other half is to be able to get examples and counterexamples. So basically, once you have used your theory, your critical reasoning theory, to identify the flaws inside the argument, then you need to come with examples and counterexamples in order to attack it. First you identify and then you attack. Okay? Now, in order to come up with examples and counterexamples, the best way would be to ask, what if? So as an example, this was our cause-effect relationship. So if I want to come here with an example, I would ask, what if? And then I would think about something that would show the contrary, that would show the opposite, right? So in this case, another mall which offer lower prices open in the nearby area. Okay, so that's a what if that shows that what the author is saying might not be true. Counterexamples work better than examples in this stage. Another example with the generalization I showed you before would be what if, right? And here we have the answer, right? What if this is not true? What if there is something that doesn't work? What if the author has really overlooked certain implications? Same thing here with the wrong way. So you already have identified your flaw and now you ask, what if? And here you get a possible answer. This answer will be an example or a counterexample, and we will use it against the author. So as you have seen, by asking what if, it's very easy to come up with examples and counterexamples, which is a big part of writing an essay. Okay? So now that you know how to attack, now that you know how to identify flaws, I'm going to show you what a finished essay looks like. Okay, so here we have the first version. In this one, you have 5 paragraphs in total, 3 of them being body paragraphs and 2 of them being the introduction and the conclusion. Okay, each paragraph has a reason, a flaw that you have identified, and one example or counterexample at least. This is the most conventional format and the one we recommend. Now here we have a second version of the essay. This one is shorter and has only 4 paragraphs, okay? In total, 2 of those paragraphs being body paragraphs, the other 2 being the introduction and the conclusion, okay? Now, because you only have 2 body paragraphs, you have only identified 2 flaws, you need to write more for each one, so you need to introduce more examples or counterexamples. This is an emergency type of structure. We don't recommend it really because it's very difficult to write a good amount of words under this structure. So, now that you are almost ready to write an essay, let's first talk about the times, how you're going to distribute the times that you have. We mentioned that in total you have 30 minutes to complete the whole essay, including reading the argument. So you have to distribute your times in this way. So you take 2 minutes to read the argument. Then you take 5 minutes to do the outline. Now, just before we go anywhere else, the outline is by far the most important part, okay? We're going to talk a lot about it later. Now, you take 90 minutes approximately. Of course, these are not rigid times, guys, okay? These are just recommendations, approximations, but try to keep them because they work, okay? 90 minutes to write and 4 minutes at the end to proofread. You always need to proofread whatever you write, okay? Okay, so now we're going to see each of them step by step. So the first and most important step, the outline, okay? The outline is everything. It's by far the most important part. By far the most important part. Why? Because in this outline is where you do all the thinking. You get creative. You do all the creative process. You start thinking about the flaws, identifying the flaws. You start thinking about the examples that you're going to use to attack. And basically you outline each paragraph very neatly. Okay? So this is by far the most important part, and you should get very good at doing this. If your whole essay is a building, the outline is like the whole foundation and the whole structure, all the columns. Okay, that's the outline. So the outline is the most important thing. If you have a weak outline, not even if you are a good writer, you won't be able to fix it. Okay, your essay will always be weak, will be unconvincing if you don't have a good outline. So every good writer uses first an outline in order to write something. So now, what does your outline contain? The following. So this is the first version of the outline. If you're going to write the 5 paragraphs, 3 body paragraphs, okay? So you have to have 3 reasons. Each reason will have an example or a counterexample. You don't need to write them completely, really. The important thing is that you must have the idea, right? The idea has to be complete. But maybe you can use abbreviations, you can use some other things that will allow you to put those ideas into context more quickly. So this is how my outline would look for the question we presented earlier. Okay, so that's it. Each of these reasons will make up a body paragraph in my essay. And here we have the outline version B, the second version. This is for the case in which you don't really have 5 paragraphs, you only have 4 because you can only come up with 2 reasons. I don't really recommend doing this too much, as I've told you before. This is more like an emergency method. So if you can't come up with 3 reasons, for some reason you just can't come up with them, then you only come up with 2 reasons, but then you have to add more examples, okay? So for each reason you provide, you have to provide at least 2 examples. That's the difference, okay? Always have in mind that if you want to get a high score on the GMAT essay, on the AWA, you need to write at least 400 words, okay? No less. So now we come to step number 2. Now that you finish your outline, you have to start writing the whole thing out, okay? So you have to understand that the writing process is a very mechanical process. There is not much thinking in there, but there is a lot of art in writing. So the first thing I'll recommend would be first start writing the body paragraphs, the content, the most important part of the essay, the heart, the core. And then at the end, write the introduction and the conclusion, because those are easier, and also they're even easier if you already have all the reasons that you are going to be exemplifying or showing in the essay. So in order for you to write a nice essay, something that's good, something that's a good product, something that makes you look smart, right? That's what you want. You want to look smart. Okay, so I'll give you some tips and recommendations. The first one would be use your reading comprehension theory. Okay, now if you have read a lot of passages on the GMAT or on the GRE or on the TOEFL, whatever, any exam, any passage that is written correctly has a lot of transition words. That's the key. Good authors always use tons and tons of transition words, and they use them appropriately. Okay, so you have to learn how to use your transition words. That's by far the most important thing. If you don't have good transition words, your whole essay is going to look messy, confusing. It's going to be very difficult to read, very difficult to understand, and believe me, people who read it will hate it. Okay, have you ever read something that is poorly written? All right, that's just annoying as hell. Okay, we don't like that. Okay, nobody likes it, and the people who are going to grade your essay surely don't like it. Okay, so start using your transition words carefully. You have to totally dominate these transitions. Okay, what transitions I'm talking about? These ones. For example, transitions to initiate a paragraph, like these ones. Transitions to show contrast, like these ones. Transition words of addition, like these ones. Keywords of resolution, here. Or keywords for examples, like these ones. Writing good implies writing clear, all right? You have to be clear. A good essay is a clear essay, something that gets the message through. In order to do that, it's essential, it's crucial to use good transition words at the right time. Recommendation number 2 for you to write a good essay, use your sentence correction theory. Okay, now this is not totally sentence correction. Remember that in the sentence correction section of the GMAT, they were kind of like the Pope, okay? They were very conservative. So there were things that were not actually wrong. The sentence correction would tell you, okay, that's poorly written because of idioms, because it doesn't sound right, okay? But here we have more freedom to write, okay? But there are some things though that you should know from your sentence correction, right? That are grammatically incorrect. So if something is totally grammatically incorrect, then you have to make sure that you don't make that mistake. The main recommendations in the grammar department for any international student would be this. First one, don't forget that a sentence must always have a subject and a verb. A lot of people forget about the subject. Number 2, don't forget your connectors. Okay, we've talked about transition words, right? These transition words are often tons of connectors. Make lists grammatically parallel. Don't forget about that parallelism. Stay away from the passive voice if you don't dominate it. Passive voice sounds bad if you don't know how to do it correctly. And don't abuse prepositional phrases. Write something that's more clear, more concise. So now that we've given you the recommendations, right, and to make your life even simpler, okay, you know that here at Libertas Prep, we got your back, okay? So here's a template all of our students use in order to ace the AWA section. This template uses several transition words, so you will just have to fill in the blanks. Each paragraph has basically the same structure as the other ones, but we have varied the transition words so it doesn't sound too monotonous. So finally, what would a complete body paragraph look like? Here you have an example. Okay, so here we have my 3 body paragraphs, okay, and that's what we recommend. Now, if you can't come up with 3 paragraphs, just read this to see how it is written, okay, to kind of learn what a good essay would look like. I'm not saying this essay is perfect, it's by no means perfect, but it would be something that will get a high score. Now, if I only wrote 2 paragraphs, it would look something like this. So once you finish writing the body paragraphs, now you have to write the introduction and the conclusion, right, at the end. Don't worry though, because these are very easy. Here at Libertas Prep, we're going to give you some free templates, okay? So with these free templates, the introduction and the conclusion are a walk in the park. So the introduction, here's a template, right? It's really simple to fill in once you have all your arguments finished. So the final version of my introduction will look something like this. Now to go to the conclusion, the same thing, here's a template for the conclusion. And the final version of my conclusion will look something like this. So now step number 3, basically proofreading. Okay, proofreading, you know what proofreading means. Just read your whole essay in those 4 or 5 last minutes you have, and then start checking if there are any grammatical mistakes, or if something doesn't make sense, or if you have misspelled something, and fix it. Okay, there's not much theory here with proofreading, but let me tell you that this is also a good opportunity for you to start adding more words in case you are short on words. So that's it, guys. That's basically how you write an AWA essay. Okay, but wait though. I still have a lot of things to tell you. So if you want to write like a pro, I'm going to give you here 2 tips that you will have to start applying immediately in order to be a good writer. So if you want to go to the next level, my main recommendation would be you have to write clean and clear, organized. Okay, the most common mistake people make on the GMAT essay and on any other essay is that when they write, they are confusing. They don't use the right punctuation, they don't use the right transition words, and overall they write sentences that are just too long. Okay, so you need to fix that, because remember, a good essay is a clear essay, and this is valid not only for the GMAT, it's valid for any other exam you're going to take, the TOEFL, the GRE, the IELTS, whatever exam you're taking. If the reader has problems understanding what you're saying, if the reader has problems understanding what you're writing, that's bad. Okay, that's a bad situation. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So here's my recommendation. If you want to write good, but you don't really have a high command of English, like most of the cases of international students, then you have to start out by writing short sentences, okay? Let me give you an example here. So, if you write short sentence, for example, read this argument here, read this paragraph. Actually, it's confusing, it's wordy. I mean, the content is fine. What this person is trying to say makes sense, but the way he or she is writing just is confusing, okay? It's messy. So, if you were to write shorter sentences, it would look something like this, which is something much shorter, much cleaner, much more clear, okay? Easy to understand. But hold on, you might be saying, okay, Rod, but if I write that way, that's just too short. There's no way I'm gonna get to 400 words if I write like that. And here comes my main advice. Now I'm gonna teach you a couple of techniques I use with my students, and these are secret techniques that I'm sharing with you right now, okay? And if you apply them right now, you're gonna become a pro at writing. So what do you do with this one? And of course, it is a very short paragraph, okay? It's too short, but that's only the base though, that's only the beginning, that's something you have to understand. You start out like that, And then you start adding things on top, adding layers and layers. That's how you get a really good essay. First, you have to make sure to secure that the core, the most important content, the most important ideas in your paragraph are clear. And then you can start adding more. If your base, if the first thing you've written is unclear, then you can add more there. You can add more, because if you add something over a base that's messy, the whole thing is going to be confusing. It's going to be a complete mess, okay? So you start out like this one, and then you add things. Now, what techniques I use to add more words? So here comes the two most powerful techniques that I teach to my students to make them get really high scores on the GMAT AWA or in any other essay, okay? Modifiers, especially comma which and comma ing, all day long, baby, okay? All day long. These are the most powerful things you're gonna find in order to write a nice essay. Now, look at this new version. Okay, now it looks like a paragraph already. It looks like a good paragraph, right? Like a normal paragraph. Now, if you look closely though, you'll notice that what I've added are only 3 phrases that I've introduced with comma which and comma ing. These are 2 very powerful tools that you need to start implementing in your own game, because that's a very good way, very clear, very organized way to start adding information. Okay, you use comma which especially to explain things, to give descriptions, and you use comma ing to give consequences. Okay, and you look at them and they are nicely put because they are at the end of the sentence and they come after a comma, so it's very clear. They don't get in the way, so you are not risking making this whole paragraph confusing and unreadable. So is this a final version of my paragraph? Well, no, we can still do something more. We can keep on adding more modifiers. Now, what kind of modifiers are we adding? Well, adjectives and adverbs. Okay, so once you've written your comma ing's, your comma whiches, then you start adding more adjectives or adverbs. Now, this is really important because when you throw a lot of adjectives in the paragraph, it makes it sound like you have a good resource of words. Okay, a good lexicon basically. So in this way you make the reader believe that you have a high command of English, and also that you're a smart person overall because you take this opportunity to start adding big words. Most of the big words we're going to be adding are in the form of adjectives and adverbs. So we can take this into this. Now if you read, this is my final version for this paragraph. If you read this, it's something that sounds good, it's something that sounds clear, something that sounds a little pompous maybe, but it looks okay. It looks like a hefty paragraph, okay? That's what we want. So now you have everything you need in order to write a very good essay and get a really high score on the GMAT section. But as you know, practice makes the master. So as you know also, here at Liberty Test Prep, we got your back, okay? So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna practice with 3 arguments. We're gonna do 3 essays. Now what I wanna tell you before though is please do these exercises with me, okay? That's the way that you're going to improve. You have to do it on your own first before you get to see my answers. So when I tell you to stop the video and start writing your own essay, and after 30 minutes, review my answer, okay? Otherwise, you won't make too much improvement. Okay, so here we go. So before we start with the exercises, we're going to refresh your memory right now regarding the times, okay? So here are the times. You have 2 minutes to read the whole argument. Then you've got 5 minutes to write the outline. Remember, you have to focus on the outline really good because the outline is by far the most important part of the whole essay. Then you've got 19 minutes to write the essay. Okay, to write the essay, let's say you have around 5 minutes per paragraph, and then you've got maybe a couple minutes for the introduction and a couple more for the conclusion. And then you've got 4 minutes at the end to proofread and to add words. Your final essay should be at least 400 words, okay? So this is the first exercise. What you need to do is pause the video and take 30 minutes to write, okay? So pause the video right now. Okay, so I'm assuming you already wrote your essay. So here is my outline. So here in this case, the first flaw I identified was the assumption. There was an assumption regarding the residence of the people who went to the festival, right? Those people might have come from other places, not necessarily from that area. So that's what I'm going to attack. Reason number 2 is regarding the radio show. They say that the radio show is the highest ranked, but it does not necessarily imply that you have a large audience. And reason number 3 I'm going to write about is that the author has not evaluated anything about the costs, because if he's talking about profits, we know that there are two variables, two factors for the profits. You have revenues and you have costs. So he's talking a little bit about revenues. He's not really showing any evidence, but he's mentioning nothing about the costs. So my essay would be this. In total, we have 540 words, okay, which is well within what we want. Remember, you need to write at least 400 words, so 540 is a good amount. So now just read this essay. I'm gonna leave it for 10 seconds. Now don't worry about it, because if you go to the description below, you can download a whole PDF with all the templates, all the exercises, okay? So pause the video, read the essay and compare it to your own. Again, you can download this essay, my answers and the questions, and also the templates we're using to write the essay by clicking on the link at the description below. So here we have exercise number 2. Again, you have 30 minutes to do it. Pause the video and then resume it once you finish writing the essay. So here is my outline. Okay, this outline, the first reason I'm talking about is that this person, this author, assumes that the size of the staff and the shift of employees, whether they're full-time or part-time, really has a direct correlation with the quality of service that is being offered by the company, right? And that's not necessarily true, because being a bigger company does not necessarily mean that they offer a better service. Reason number 2, that the assumption that the sales revenue, the average revenue for each household is an important factor, and that might not be too important, because what companies care about is profits. Clients care about is about the margins they get once they sell their houses. So that indicator is not too convincing. And reason number 3 is that the author doesn't evaluate the cause-effect relationship, in which he gave his experience with these two companies, but in different times, in different time frames, and he hasn't really given any more information about the houses or the types of houses that he was selling. Okay, so that's my reason number 3. So here's my essay. In total, it's got 597 words, almost 600, which has a lot of content. So what I'm going to ask you is pause the video and read it, but also you can download this sample answer that I've written from the link in the description below, and you'll also be able to download all the templates. So here's exercise number 3. Okay, again, pause the video and resume it once you finish writing the essay. You have 30 minutes. So here's my outline. Reason number 1 that I'm going to tag is the author assumes that there is a direct correlation between the number of accidents and the number of mopeds in the streets, and that's not necessarily true. There could be other causes too for the accidents. Reason number 2 would be that the author assumes that the number of mopeds or that the mopeds that are being driven on the island are rented in those rental companies that are going to be supervised, right, by the law. Actually, there could be several other ways in which people are getting those mopeds, okay? And reason number 3 would be that the author establishes a partial comparison with Seville, because he is mentioning that Seville implemented a similar measure, but we don't know anything about Seville. They could have also implemented several other measures, or people in there might be different. So we don't know anything about Seville, and the author needs to provide more background information. So here's my finished essay. Read it just to know how a good essay is written, okay? And then you can also again download it from the link below in the description. with all the free templates. So this has been the GMAT AWA lesson, okay? Don't forget please to subscribe to our channel if you want to keep on receiving more content like this, okay? That will really support us. And don't forget also to click on the notification bell to be up to date with all of our content. Also, don't forget to leave us a comment because we truly want to know what you think about this lesson and if we need to keep on making lessons like this, okay? And also, finally, don't forget to share this video with your friends because I'm pretty sure that it's going to help them out big time. But before you go, I still have something to tell you. I have another treat for you. If you want to get a free PDF file with 100 new arguments for GMAT, all you have to do is go to the link in the description below and just download it, okay? So that's important for you to practice. If you need practice, there you got 100 free arguments for GMAT AWA. This video was brought to you by Liberty Test Prep. If you want to see all of our worldwide GMAT, TOEFL, GRE, and IELTS programs, you just have to go to our website or hit us on the WhatsApp, okay? So that's been it with me. I'm with Liberty. My name is Rod. Thank you for watching.